All right, Mike Triplett joins us. We got news. Tyler Shough will be the starter. Mike, thanks for the time as always. Reaction to Shough making his first start?
It's new. It's different. I'm all for it, right? This team needs to be exploring possibilities. I mean, there are different worlds where Spencer Rattler did a really good job. He exceeded my expectations. There's alternate realities where he could have a lot of success in this league, but this is a 1-7 rebuilding team that's throwing rookies in half the position groups across the roster to try to think about the future. And you drafted a quarterback at 40. It was time to do that at quarterback too, I think.
Okay. What do we think is let's go back one more before we go forward. Yeah. What do you think ultimately was the reason that this was the time to make the change?
It was a little earlier than I expected, to be honest, Matt. Well, I take it back. If Rattler had struggled more, I thought it could have happened any time after the first month of the season. But the way Rattler was playing, I was kind of eyeballing the bye week or maybe the Carolina game before the bye week, get your feet wet, and then have 2 weeks to go over it and make adjustments. But I can't help but wonder if once Kellen Moore got the idea in his head, he was ready to, pull the trigger at a moment's notice, and that moment's notice came in the game. I don't think he went into that game planning to make a switch during the game, but I think once he had it in his head that, I think a week before that he said it's a week-to-week decision. I just think the idea kept growing in his head, and he was ready to do it. And then obviously Spencer Rattler opened the door by having, after he only had one turnover in the first 6 games, he had 6 turnovers in 6 straight quarters, one in each quarter exactly, before he was benched. And then the offense as a whole, this is what Kellen Moore has said a bunch of times, like they need to make a lot of changes on offense, including the way they're coaching it, including the way they're calling it, including some of the things they're doing. But the offensive as a whole had grown really, really stale. They were just not. They would get past the 50-yard line and then just fall off. And, obviously this comes in the wake of a game in which they just scored 3 total points.
What is, in your estimation, a realistic expectation for Tyler Shough against the Rams?
Against the Rams, I don't think there could be a more difficult matchup for any quarterback on the state schedule this whole season that they've played.
Awesome.
Even tougher games, Buffalo, Tampa, I don't think anyone else has a defense that's good and a defensive front that's good. So he's be prepared to see a couple turnovers. Be prepared to see him make a mistake when he's under heavy pressure. And he's going to be facing a 3rd and 13, and they're going to tee off on him, and he's going to make a move that's unflattering. But I also think that is going to give, I don't know, maybe some wiggle room in how we view it. Since we're, what are they, 14.5-point underdogs?
Yep.
We're expecting doom and gloom. So if he has 2 turnovers, but he also hits Rashid Shaheed, has a successful 2-minute drill, converts a couple third downs with his legs, as long as we see glimpses of what they can build on and knowing this is week 1 out of a 10-week audition, I think we're looking for the positives as much as kind of knowing there's going to be negatives. We're gonna see a little of both for sure.
Just to clarify, provided he stays healthy, you think Shough starts the rest of the season?
That's certainly the plan. I think he would have to flame out pretty tremendously for them to switch back and really be in over his head. I can't rule that out, but it won't be about wins at that point. And if this is a 1-13 team at some point, then it's going to be we better look at him for 4 more weeks. Otherwise, we're drafting quarterback with the number 1 pick next year.
Yeah. Mike Triplett, he's on Twitter at Mike Triplett. NewOrleans.football chats every Thursday here, presented by Benny's Car Wash, giving us a new reason, a new meaning of intrigue for this game this weekend against the Rams to watch Tyler Shough. So, Mike, the other part of this comes, what's around Tyler Shough this weekend when you consider injury situations? And maybe the better question is, with the trade deadline coming Tuesday, are there any players that might sit that they don't want to risk injury?
No, they won't do that, I don't think. I guess I think you might as well just go ahead and make the trade before a game if you're going to do that. But if they had something in place, but it's a fair question if they're so sure they want to trade Rashid Shaheed, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think he'll have his full complement of offensive pieces for at least one game. If any of those guys are going to be traded, whether it's Shaheed or Brandon Cooks, he'll have all of them available for this game. The real shame of it is obviously that Eric McCoy's out for the season. Nothing would be a better friend to any young quarterback than the kind of veteran center that Eric McCoy is. But other than that, the full offensive line is intact. So, and he's got out with the Marinos and Henry Miller. So not perfect, but pretty close to what you would want. They better start catching the ball for him better than they were catching it and holding on to it better than they were for Spencer Rattler, though.
Well, I mean, look, even the interception that Tyler Shough threw was one that Chris Olave had ripped right out of his hands by Antoine Winfield. Yep. So it's been a problem this year, obviously, and both of these young quarterbacks, just their weapons aren't helping him any. So, Mike, the conversation, all the focus, of course, is going to be on Shough at the quarterback. But you and I have talked about this now for 2 months. It's a season where you want to see what you have in a lot of potential future cornerstone pieces. It's hard to recognize when you're 1-7, but are there things that you could step back right now, or players that you could step back and say they've got something there, and that's a guy that could be a starter for a half decade here?
Yeah. There's not tons of guys that I'm like, you're building around them. But I would actually say that is the one sort of shining light or saving grace, silver lining, whatever you want to call it, of this season so far is that was number one most important to me on this team, was seeing progress and promising signs from the guys who are going to be here for several years to come. And I think it's been pretty positive with Kelvin Banks, the first-round pick, and I think it's been pretty positive with Tali Fuaga, last year's first-round pick, and I think it's been trending positive lately with Kool-Aid McKinstry, last year's second-round pick. He had a really good game this last week, and he's been trending positive. Obviously, you like what you're seeing out of the rookie class, and they're getting them all on the field, those mid-round picks like Jonas Sanker and Danny Stutzman and Quincy Riley and now Devin Neal. I don't know that those guys are going to be top 10 players for this team. Maybe Sanker could be, but they look like guys who are going to build out a roster. So I would say some of the things you're disappointed about are some of the things you expected to be disappointed about. Luckily, I would say that the guys who are young and are going to be around for a while have been pretty promising for the most part, except for obviously the Devon Bailey experiment so far. You'd like to see him get a lot more involved in the second half of this season.
There is Jalen Polk next year too. I mean, it's crazy that I'm sitting here trying to pump Jalen Polk right now. This is when you're 1-7. Give me something, God. All right, Mike. Is there a path for the Saints this weekend to maybe mess up and win this game?
Only in the greater NFL weird things happen sense. But this to me is probably the most confident I've been in picking against the Saints all year, and the widest point margin. Although I don't think I will pick less than 14 points. I think that's a pretty surprising point spread considering how feisty the Saints have been, even against the Niners and the Bills. And, they could backdoor their way to finishing within two scores, right? But other than that, no, there's a lot of things that don't match up well for them. The Rams are coming off a bye. They're getting Puka Nacua back. They've got Matthew Stafford, who I think is leading the league in touchdown passes this year. This is a bad matchup for this team.
Yeah, the Saints have played.
Here's your positive. Look at the schedule past this game, and it's like a college football season in reverse. They've got the non-conference opponents coming up throughout November and December.
The Saints have played 3 road games. They've lost all 3 by double digits. I'm not in any way confident, but I appreciate your attempt at some degree of confidence. Mike Triplett, courtesy of Benny's Car Wash, Benny'sCarWash.com, Benny'sCarWash.com, unlimited car wash membership club. Highly recommend it. Did that several years ago when we started these segments with Mike, and Benny's jumped aboard, and it's awesome. I mean, you just got a little sticker. You pull right in, you pull right through. Wash as many times as you want, Benny'sCarWash.com. Mike, all right, give me something then this weekend, someone other than Tyler Shough to keep an eye on. Last thing for the Saints-Rams.
Yeah, Kool-Aid fascinates me a lot. He carries himself like a really confident guy who belongs in a cornerback 1 or at least a cornerback 2 role. You'd like to see him be a building block for the future. had that great performance in the goal line stand, and now he's going up against Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. So he might not get tested like this more rigorously than the rest of the season. So he's a fun one to watch for me.
Mike Triplett, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Be well. Kool-Aid stinks. He stinks. I ain't watching Kool-Aid. He stinks. He might be a nice rotational piece somewhere down the line. He's not a number one corner. It's one of the things I've learned this year. Every time he goes up against someone else's number one, he gets just absolutely torched. Which is why if the Saints can find something in Tyler Shough and they end up not using a top 5 pick on a quarterback, I wouldn't be opposed to taking the best cornerback in April's draft. You're going to see it this weekend. I mean, Matthew Stafford, even though he's 107 years old and he's put together with bubble gum and duct tape, is still just slicing people. And the Rams, Stafford may throw for 700 yards. Or not really, people. Don't hold me to that. But they're going to get torched this weekend. And it's going to be another reminder. It doesn't matter if it's JSN or any of the other number ones that they've had to go up against this year. Kool-Aid can't hang. They need a number one corner.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.